to another episode of All Things Ghostly. My name is Abby. Nice to meet you if I've never met you before, and welcome back if you are a second or third or fourth time listener. Maybe you've been here since the beginning. Shout out to you. So without too much intro talk today, we're gonna get right on into the topic, simply because one, my life is boring and I have nothing exciting to tell you, and two, because I'm excited for what we're gonna be talking about today. We are covering a haunted location today, and this is called the Dock Street Theater in Charleston, South Carolina. So the article we are using as reference today is by ghostcitytours.com. If you guys have listened to any of my episodes on haunted locations before, you know that this is one of my favorite websites to get information from and to read from, because they go really well into detail on the history, the backstory, the hauntings there. I just love how they set up their articles. Also, if you guys are interested in reading along with me or looking at the photos that's included in the article, it is always linked in the description or the show notes of wherever you are watching or listening. So the address is 135 Church Street, so it's not actually on Dock Street, but nonetheless, it says the Dock Street Theater, interestingly not located on Dock Street but on Church Street. Another quirky fact about the theater is that at one time it was actually a hotel, which we know how I feel about haunted hotels, and is now the last surviving antebellum hotel. The building, originally known as Planters Hotel, was constructed in 1809 by Mr. and Mrs. Alexander Calder. Their endeavor was really more of a renovation of a cluster of buildings already located on site. The name of the hotel was an homage to its guests, as most of the people who stayed at the Planters were actually planters. During the horse racing season, these planters from the Midlands of South Carolina would journey into city to catch the races. And then in the article, there's actually a picture of the front doors of the theater, and they're these gorgeous, like, teal blue. It's a little bit dark of a teal, and it's just so stunning. So definitely go check it out if you guys can. It says, after playing the ponies, most of the planters were too tired to trek back home or were otherwise unable to travel the distance. I'll leave all of the possible reasons up to your imagination. I don't like things left up to my imagination because my imagination goes everywhere. By the 1930s, Planters Hotel was gone and the building in desperate need of repairs. The city stepped in and began the process of restoring the structure as a joint project with the WPA, which is Works Progress Administration. As construction began, the additional structure was added behind the hotel, featuring both a stage and an auditorium. As for the theater's name, it was taken from a theater from the 1730s that once stood on Dock Street, now Queen Street. The original Dock Street Theater was the city's first ever theater. I love this concept of a spooky theater. Like, I would just love to be sitting and watching a show and then a little ghosty pop up on me. Love that vibe. For many Charlestonians, how fancy, the Dock Street Theater is a symbol of the city and its people's enduring desire for life. The performances put on at the theater are produced by the Charleston Stage Company, the largest theater company in the state of South Carolina. The Dock Street Theater is more than historic. It is also one of the most haunted buildings in all of Charleston. That is very promising. Those who have passed by the theater at night have seen the ghosts of lost souls gazing out from the windows. A classic haunting story. And then we're going to get into a little bit of the history of the Dock Street Theater. It says the construction of the original Dock Street is believed to have commenced in the year of 1735, with the grand opening taking place on the 12th of February in the year of 1736. Its location was not far from the current address of the theater. The theater's first incarnation was short-lived. The exact cause of its demise is not clear, but most believe that it burned down in the Charleston fire of 1740. While the Dock Street burned down, it was replaced with another theater which remained open for over 40 years when it closed down in the 1780s. It was shut down in large part due to the construction of a new and more grand theater just around the corner. Nearly 30 years later, in 1809, Planters Hotel was created by the Calders. The building would go through another round of renovations just a little over 25 years later in 1835. It was during this renovation the building received its enduring style, elements of which can still be seen now at the Dock Street Theater. After the work of 1835 had been completed, the Planters Hotel became known as one of the most preeminent hotels in all of Charleston. During the glory days of the Planters Hotel, it was known to play host to theater groups. One of the actors of these theater troupes has a name that may sound a little familiar. Junius Brutus Booth? Am I saying that right? That doesn't sound familiar to me. This Booth was the father of old John Wilkes Booth. Okay, I know Mr. John. One popular story about the elder Booth occurred during his stay at the Planters Hotel around 1839. The events of the story unfolded one night after a performance when, for unknown reasons, Booth became enraged and attacked the hotel's manager, almost killing the man. Oh my goodness, anger management, please. I guess theater folks are temperamental. I mean, in this case, definitely. The actors that grace the Dock Street Theater today are a bit better behaved. I would hope so. Well, at least they have not tried to kill anyone. That's always a good sign. Well, at least none of them that I'm aware of. Interesting. And that came from the article. I always like to read the article's little commentary. I think it's funny. This successful time period would be succeeded by a calamity of unfortunate events. First, the Civil War. Okay, little to nothing went unscathed during the war, but this was especially so for any place in the South, and Charleston was no exception. After the war, the once luxurious hotel became a victim of the city's strong economy. The neglected hotel faced further damage as a result of the devastating 1886 Charleston earthquake. The needs of the building had become too great for any one man in Charleston to take on, and without the slightest bit of hope, the people of Charleston were forced to turn a blind eye to the once great hotel as it was left to decay to become another forgotten relic from the antebellum era. The building that housed the Planters Hotel was left abandoned for far too long, nearly 50 years. But things were beginning to look up for the once majestic property as there were plans on the way. Those plans came about in the mid-1930s when the Works Progress Administration, an agency established during the Great Depression to create work for the unemployed, announced their intentions to do just that for the people of Charleston. The work to renovate the condemned structure formerly known as Planters Hotel. The first step in restoring not just the building but Charleston's economy was for the city to hire new workers for the massive undertaking. The following step was to renovate the old hotel back to its original glory. While the outside of the building was brought back to life, back to the old swinging days of the 1830s and 40s, the building was not to become a hotel again. No, the building was being reborn into a theater. And bearing Charleston's history in mind, the name of its first theater was revived. The Dock Street Theater was alive once again. Now we're moving on to the more recent years of the theater. The theater remained open until the year of 2007 when the building was forced to close temporarily for greatly needed renovations. After all, it had been 70 plus years since the WPA's initiative revived the building. 3 short years and $19 million later, on March 18, 2010, the Dock Street Theater held its grand reopening to the delight of all Charlestonians. Today, the historic theater continues to serve as a cultural touchstone for the city, as it hosts a full season of performances produced by the Charleston Stage Company. In addition to the amazing plays put on at Dock Street, you can catch some of your favorite musical acts at the theater year-round. I would love to go to a show here. It looks stunning. I love all the ghostly history and even the ongoings of it today. I'd definitely go here in my free time. Okay, so now we're getting into the good stuff, the ghosts of the Dock Street Theater. With nearly 350 years of history under its belt, the city of Charleston lays host to countless ghosts. Some of the city's most infamous lost souls can be found at the historic Dock Street Theater. Guests of the theater have claimed to see spirits roaming about, sightings of ghostly shadows in the rafters, and apparitions on the stage. Many are left to wonder just who these ghosts were. Were they failed actors? Were they longtime admirers of the theater? Or is it possible that something more tragic occurred at the building? I mean, that's always a possibility we gotta keep in mind. While there have been numerous sightings throughout the building's long history, there are 2 particular spirits that have been seen more than any of the others. One of these 2 specters is believed to be Junius Brutus Booth, and again, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, the father of the infamous presidential assassin. No one is quite sure why his ghost is haunting the Dock Street Theater, formerly Planters Hotel, as he was not even in Charleston at the time of his passing. He was miles away in Louisville, Kentucky. That is interesting. I mean, unless he has some sort of, interest in theater that maybe nobody knew about or something, that he would want to spend his afterlife there. I'm not really sure. Because honestly, who says that ghosts have to stay where they die? I mean, unless it's a situation of like a curse or something where they're stuck there because of maybe unfinished business or, I don't know, trauma. But I mean, who says that they gotta stay where they die? You know what I mean? I mean, I would be wanting to go to my favorite place if I died and then had to haunt somewhere for the rest of my life, or for the rest of my afterlife. And aside from performing at the former hotel with his theater troupe, And the rumor that he tried to kill the manager of the Planters Hotel, he doesn't really have any strong ties to the building. Nothing to warrant his haunting of the building. But I would argue that that's low-key, that might be a trauma that could tie him to there. Like if he tried to kill somebody and then wasn't successful in doing so, maybe it's a situation not of his own trauma, but of the trauma of the person he literally tried to kill, the manager. And maybe that's enough to like damn his soul there forever, you know what I mean? But logic and facts aside, it is possible that the ghost of Junius Booth, I feel weird saying that because I've never heard it before, but I don't know how else I would pronounce it, is indeed haunting the theater. However, it is more plausible that it is the ghost of another lost soul, maybe another actor unwilling to leave the spotlight of the stage. Well, my question to that would be, how do you know that it's Junius? Like, why does so many people think that it's this specific person? Like, is it an outfit? Is it a vibe? Is it a specific thing that the ghost does that leads people to believe that it is this Mr. Booth guy? The most frequently spotted ghost at the Dock Street Theater is Nettie. Some claim that her full name was Nettie Dickerson, while others believe that she was nameless and thusly dubbed Nettie by the locals. Nettie lived in Charleston during the 1800s and could usually be found at the Planters Hotel. She was not a guest nor a member of the staff at the Planters Hotel per se. You see, Nettie was a bit of a freelancer. Her occupation, well, it was the world's oldest profession. She was a prostitute or sex worker, as we would say today. The ghost of Nettie can be seen gliding around aimlessly throughout the Dock Street Theater. Some of those who have caught a glimpse of Nettie claim that she wore a tattered yet vibrantly colored red dress. But how did Nettie come to haunt the Dock Street Theater? During the Planters' heyday, the hotel was a place where the wealthy man of Charleston could congregate. It was a place where they were free to drink copious amounts of alcohol, gamble away a small fortune, and engage in extramarital affairs with the local prostitutes. Shame on them. One of these ladies of the night was the 25-year-old Nettie. It's believed that young Nettie was a country girl who dreamed of the city life and arrived in Charleston sometimes in the early 1840s. Good for her. She's out here chasing her dream. I love Nettie. Nettie's reasons for coming to Charleston was to find love and excitement, but unfortunately for Nettie, she lived in an era when 25 was considered well past the marrying age. That is so mind-blowing. Like, I'm 22 right now and nowhere near marriage, so the fact that we, like, our standards of society, and especially women in general, they change so much through the eras. It's crazy to me that 25 was past the marrying age at this point. The wealthy men of Charleston were looking for brides who were still in their teens. Babes, what we doing here? That is disgusting. They were not interested in marrying someone considered to be a spinster. Aside from Nettie's age, her social status was also a factor. Back in the day, it was very uncommon for people to marry beneath their class. This was especially so in Charleston, a stigma that actually continues in some social circles in the city today. And while many of the men of Charleston were taken with Nettie's beauty, they were only interested in lust, not love. Her dreams of a better life, dreams of happiness and love now crushed, Nettie began looking for work. Oh, girl, I'm so sorry. It literally happens to the best of us, though. Men aren't shit. Nettie became a clerk at St. Philip's Episcopal Church, I believe it's how it's said. She took to the job well and got along with the priest, but nonetheless she felt as she did not belong. It was impossible for her to compete, and she would never truly be accepted into Charleston's high society. Nettie grew tired of trying to get ahead in Charleston and quit her job despite the priest's effort to sway her from doing so, begging her to not lose heart. That's so sweet. Like, again, I feel like just from my own like religious experience and trauma, maybe I have a bad view of priests, but I actually said this in my last video. I think it was the possession one, where one of the like leaders of the church told this one guy, like, everybody has a different way of worshiping. We shouldn't judge how somebody, you know, acts on their faith, I guess you could say. And I don't literally think that all priests are bad, just like I don't think all religious people are bad. Like, I think religion can be an extremely beautiful thing, but I think we all know that, especially in American society, I can't speak for everywhere else because I'm not there, obviously, but religion has been turned into a way to like send out hate in the world, but then hide behind your faith to do so. So I'm glad to see all these priests, especially that were back in the day, that's being so supportive of somebody. And again, she was a sex worker, so to see, and I don't know if this priest knew about that, but I'm glad to see, you know, him being able to say something like, don't lose heart, like, you've got this, we want you to stay here. That just warms my heart. But it was too late, she had, so she left her job. With the money she was able to save from her job at the church, she went to one of the most upscale stores in Charleston and bought the most expensive dress they had, period, bitch. A gorgeous red dress that would catch the eye of any man. And with her new dress, she entered the Planters Hotel with this very intent. Oh, okay, so maybe her job at the church was before her sex working days, which I got that mixed up, so my bad. With her new mindset, looks, and red dress, she adapted well to her new profession. Still bitter at the society that refused to welcome her, she would continue to go to church every Sunday. And whenever one of the women, many of whom's husbands were Nettie's customers, that's an awkward situation, would cast aspersions or give her an ugly look, she would audaciously confront said woman and her husband. I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do to stand up for yourself. I am on Team Nettie's confrontation. As you can imagine, Nettie's lack of discretion cost her many of her customers and quickly became penniless. Distraught, she snapped. Nettie went out onto the second floor balcony of the Planters while in her red dress and stayed out there despite the brewing storm. She began shouting out disparaging remarks against Charleston's high society, even as the storm intensified. The priest, who still cared for Nettie, rushed out into the street and tried to reason with her. It is said that she then hollered down to him, "You can't save me," and as fate would have it, a bolt of lightning struck Nettie dead. Oh, chills over my whole fucking body. Because I feel like that's rare to be struck by lightning. I know she was literally out on a balcony during a big storm, but I feel like I've heard before that it's very rare to be struck by lightning. So that is just a very dramatic end. While the Planters Hotel is long gone, Nettie's spirit can still be seen at the Dock Street Theater, red dress and all. Okay, so I did find another article that went a little bit more into detail about the actual experiences that people have with these specific ghosts. So again, always linked in the description or show notes. This one is called charlestonterrors.com. So the first one that they talk about is Nettie. So it says, since the hotel became Dock Street Theater, there has been quite a bit of paranormal activity. One of the first ghosts to be spotted is the ghost of Nettie. Many actors in the shows here have said that they have seen a woman walking in a beautiful red dress, which we know and love as Nettie. She glides across the floor, but those who have seen her say that she is not beautiful. How dare you? Many described her face as zombie-like, yikes, and others have said it looks like something out of a haunted house. Aww. Some of the workers here said that they can see her every day, but others say she comes and goes for months at a time. I wonder where she goes in that case if it is true that she kind of comes and goes. I wonder where she goes when she's not there. And now we're going back to Junius Booth. I'm gonna sound like the biggest idiot ever if I'm mispronouncing his name, but it says the theater is haunted by more than just one ghost. In fact, many say that Junius Booth, father of John Wilkes Booth, also haunts the building. The interesting fact about these ghost stories is that Booth didn't even die in Charleston. Many of the actors and workers here have seen the figure of a man walking around the stage. They have reported seeing him when the building just had a few lights on, and they felt him breathing down their necks. I've said this before, but that crosses a boundary to me. I hate that shit. Don't breathe on my neck with your stank-ass ghost breath, please. Some of the workers here even felt him touching their neck. Yeah, that's gross. Like, is he trying to perv up on all these people? Like, what are you trying to do here, man? Visitors that have come to the theater have seen his full figure walking around on the stage and in the hallways. No one is truly sure if it is his ghost, but those who have researched him believe that it is. There are stories of how much he loved the theater, and some say that he never wanted to be anywhere else. Perhaps this is why he is sticking around. Well, and besides that fact, again, like I said, with Mr. Booth here, he literally tried to kill somebody here, so that might just be like a karma type of situation where he got stuck there because he literally attempted murder, and that's not a very good thing to do for good karma back to you. Let me just put it that way. So that was the Dock Street Theater. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know if you would ever catch a show here. I know that some people really love haunted locations, but they're kind of like a situation where I just want to hear about them, I just want to read about them, I would never actually go there. And then some people love them in the sense that they actually want to go. I feel like I'm in the middle. There's some locations that I'm like, oh, you won't ever catch me dead there. But this is definitely one of the ones that I would go to. I would catch a cute little show, be looking out for some ghosties during every act. It would be marvelous, just truly marvelous. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Let me know if you've ever been here for sure. Like, if you've gone to this theater before, definitely write in and let me know even if you have a ghost story that's not related to this lovely theater, let me know. You can either email me. My email is allthingsghostlybusiness@gmail.com, or I have a community Reddit page that you can also submit stories into, and that is just All Things Ghostly. I'm sure if you search it on Reddit, it'll pop up. And let me know all your spooky little tales. I'd love to hear about them, and I'll make an episode about them if I get enough. Also, while we're on the note of self-promotion, definitely go ahead and follow my TikTok as well. It is @allthingsghostly. I post a bunch of stuff related to the podcast on there, so if you don't ever get a chance to watch the episodes as soon as they drop, you can always go over there and see what they are, see what the vibes are. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I will see you in my next one, which is going to be a very exciting one. I have had this habit of spoiling the next week's topic at the end, and I don't know if I should keep doing that or not, but for this one I will. It is haunted airports. I'm super excited about this. This was an episode that I've been wanting to do for a while, so I'm glad I'm finally getting around to do it. So definitely tune in next week. I post every Wednesdays if you guys weren't aware. And again, you can obviously watch it on YouTube. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, just in case you weren't aware of all of the options to indulge my podcast. But anyway, I will see you guys in that next episode. I hope you have a great rest of your day, a great night, wherever you are in the world. And I will see you then. Bye, guys.